Favorite teammate?
I gotta say this on camera.
Yes, you do.
Can I I'm just gonna stick to my professional years. Ooh, can I say two people?
Go ahead.
Well, since you gave me an intro and take them out, I'll say three.
Welcome to Conversations with the Community, where voices of purpose, passion, and progress come together. I'm your host, Gabe Barber, and this podcast is dedicated to the people who move our communities forward, the activists on the front lines, the student and athletes from the grade schools to the pros, and every leader pushing for change with faith at the center. Here we dive into real stories, real challenges, and real victories, all with the goal of motivating, educating, and inspiring. Because when we grow together, by God's wisdom, with our shared experiences, we build brighter futures and stronger communities. This is Conversations with the Community. Today's episode is special for me personally, not only because we're bringing one of the greatest players ever from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, not only because we're bringing a person who scored over 1,000 points in the SEC, not only are we bringing a Gatorade Player of the Year, but we're bringing my friend, Miss Christa Reed. When people hear the name Christa Reed, they instantly think basketball. But before basketball, before the awards, before the achievements, who was Christa Reed?
Well, for me, it was always about my family, always about my older sisters. I looked up to them for as long as I can remember, and they were athletes. And so whenever I did start playing basketball, I kind of just wanted to be like them. And so when they were in the gym, I was always in there with them. And that's kind of how my love for the game ended up growing.
So obviously the name Reed is very popular here on the coast. It comes with a lot of legacy, a lot of tradition. And you mentioned your older sisters. What can you tell us about your sisters? Who were they? Obviously some of the accomplishments that they were, but you're the youngest, right? Out of how many again? Four?
Yeah,
Four girls. You being the youngest, arguably, all your sisters were better than you, right? Oh, but what can you tell us about your sisters?
I will say that my sisters were pure athletes. They went and got what they wanted. They worked hard. And I think that passed down to me. They were multi-sport athletes. So they played tennis, they ran track, played basketball, volleyball. They did all the things. And I just played basketball. So for me to see how they navigated high school, they were still able to go to college and play sports. Two of my sisters played more than one sport in college. And so seeing that kind of just showed me that I can do it. I can go to college and play a sport. And so I owe a lot of my development to just being able to see what they achieved.
So obviously I know there's an age gap between you and your sisters. But the family cookouts, the dinner tables, what's the conversation like? Who's the best Reed to come through the family?
I think we would all say that each one of us did something well. And then I came along and I was a little bit of a combination of them all. But I think the bigger conversation was whose team was the best.
Okay.
So my junior year, we went 36-0, I think, and won the state championship. My oldest sister and my second sister won a state championship one year, and I think they only lost one game. And so we compare those teams a lot to see, like, if we played against each other, who would win. I'm biased. Okay. I would say that.
As you should be.
But it would be a very close match.
Are there any specific memories, early memories that you have growing up watching your sisters play, things that you admired about watching them?
Yeah, so they didn't always start the game out strong.
Okay.
They were a team where if they had to cut it on in the second half, they were able to cut it on, come back and win. And so I have this core memory, and I think my mom has it on videotape. They might have been playing Provine or something like that. And they were down and they started full court pressing. And whenever that would happen, the crowd would sing the song called Uh-Oh, Ooh, Ooh. And so I turned around to my mom. I was like, are we going to sing Uh-Oh, Ooh, Ooh? Because I just knew that they were about to turn one. They were about to get steals, fast breaks, and they were going to end up winning the game. And so just being in the stands and cheering for my sisters in those moments, I remember that a lot.
And again, coming from a family that has a lot of legacy, and being the youngest, was there ever any pressure that you felt, growing up, having to fill those shoes at an early age?
I would say yes. Initially, I looked at basketball as something that was really fun to do.
Mhm.
I was always putting in a lot of work, and it was fun to see how that work translated to the court. But on nights when it didn't translate to the court, that's when I was kind of reminded of, what I was out there to do. I'm not here to embarrass my parents. I'm not here to waste their money. I'm not there to kind of let the legacy of what my sisters did fall. And so I did feel that pressure, but I think that having that little bit of pressure helps you push yourself a little bit harder and a little bit harder and a little bit harder. And that's kind of what I did throughout my career.
So if you had to put an age number on it, at what age do you feel like it clicked there? Like, dang, I'm pretty good at this.
Honestly, I was thinking about this on the car ride over. I think it didn't click until my career was over, to be honest. But there was always that little piece in the back of my mind that was like, I'm not good enough yet. And so that's kind of what kept me in the gym, what kept me working hard, because I think if I had realized how good I was in the moment, I wouldn't have worked this hard, if that makes sense.
And that's oftentimes hard to do, because we're talking about one of the most decorated players that Mississippi has ever seen, right? You're talking about, I want to say you had a year where you went 31-4. I want to say maybe your senior year. Your junior year, like you said, you went 36-0 with a state championship. Gatorade Player of the Year. I think you won 3 straight Sun Hero Players of the Year. 4 consecutive All-State selections. And you had 123 pointers in the season. Those aren't just accolades and records that are just being broken every day. And so walking in the local grocery stores or just being throughout the community, I'm sure that it was being, there were conversations about how good you was. How did you stay focused into still not letting those things, those conversations move you from your stance of feeling like you wasn't ready yet?
I think it kind of goes back to the conversations you have at home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like even after I would have a good game, my mom would say something like, "Hey, you practice this, this, and this, and I didn't see it not once in the game." Or, "Hey, like you've been working on this and I'm not seeing it happen." And so having those conversations, even after good games, even after wins, kind of keeps you grounded and lets you know, like, you may have done good. You may have had a 20-point game, but the work isn't finished because there's still things that you're working on that aren't showing up in the way that you play.
And we're also talking about, you graduated high school in 2014 from Bay High. And during that time, we're talking about, pre-social media era, right? So before the trainers were as exclusive as they are now, and, all of the things that come with the game today, how did you get in the gym? What was obviously you had sisters, right? But what did that time look like for you as far as getting in the gym? Who trained you? Who do you credit, you know, teaching you the drills and the skills that you developed?
You already know what I'm about to say.
I want to hear it anyway.
You want to hear? Okay. I would say Coach Wesco.
Okay.
Coach Triplett laid the foundation for my fundamentals. I think she did a really good job with that. Coach Wesco helped me take my game a step further. And my parents were really dedicated in that they paid for this. And my mom made sure I got to training every week, once a week, every week. And Wesco put me through drills that I had never seen before, had me doing things that I didn't even know that I could do. And so that kind of just expanded my mindset on what the game could look like for me. And so I credit a lot of that to him. And even though social media wasn't a big thing, you can go on YouTube now and type my name in. He's posting my workouts on YouTube so that college coaches can look at it. And so having someone who advocated for me that early, I feel really helped me with the recruiting process, helped me get my name out there and things like that.
You and I were kind of talking before we started shooting, and we were kind of laughing because there were some of the awards that you knew you won, but prior to winning them, you didn't even know the awards existed, right?
Yeah.
How many awards out there do you feel like you won that you came across that you didn't even know existed?
So Gatorade Player of the Year is one of them. I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that I didn't even know that that was a thing. And then there are other records like I think one time I had 14 3-pointers in a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that ties a record in the state. I didn't know that. Um, I think I'm in the top 100 for points scored as a high school player in the nation. Didn't know that was a thing. And so when I look back on my career, I was always just trying to be 1% better, 1% better for myself. I wasn't really chasing awards. And what I kind of learned is that whenever you do what you're supposed to do and you aim to get better, then the awards come. You don't have to try to seek it out. It'll fall in your lap if you do what you need to do.
And hearing some of the, when you look back, because you're done playing now, when you look back over your career, what emotions come? What emotions do you feel when you just sit back and kind of let it all sink in?
I miss it. Yeah, I miss it. And I think that I started playing when I was like 8. So over 20 years, there were a lot of different phases of the career. And, in some phases, it's success, it's happiness. In some phases, it's growth and pain, it's failure. And so I'm grateful that I got to experience all those different phases of the career because even though I'm not on the basketball court anymore, it prepared me for the real world, which at some point everyone has to face.
Is there a specific high school game to you that you do remember, that you do cherish? One that probably sticks out more than others?
Yeah, I would just say it's the state championship game that we won my junior year. I think that year we had beaten a lot of people pretty bad. Like, there weren't very many close games, and so the goal was just to stay focused. And as high school kids, it's really hard to do that, but we were able to stay focused, make it to the end. I had my best friends on the team. Like, we still talk to this day, all of us. And so that was really a special moment for me, and it's something that we can still look back on, talk about, and cherish as a good memory.
One of those players is still one of my favorites, which is Bretta Hart.
Love her.
And I know she ended up transferring over, that year too from Poplarville. And she was, I know, one of the key pieces to that team. But if you can go back right now and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
So we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. Like, I didn't really realize how good I was at the time. And I think in college that kind of hurt me because I kind of set a ceiling for myself in terms of, like, my goal was to go overseas. I wasn't really interested in going to the WNBA. But I think that if I had known how good I was and if I had really invested in that, then I think that there would have been a lot more opportunities that opened up for me afterwards.
In high school, you were one of the most top-ranked players in the country, right? What was the recruiting process like for you?
It was crazy. I think it's a little bit different now, so a lot of people may not resonate with my experience, but I got my first, like, BCS offer in 8th grade from Kansas on spring break in Florida. And I was like, what is happening right now? And so after that, they kind of just started coming in. And so it became learning how to manage those relationships, learning how to set boundaries, learning how to say, no, I'm not going to come to your university, and being able to explain why. And I think that that's a skill that young people learn going through that process because not all coaches are nice about it.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to handle the attitude when you get rejection, or you have to be able to make good decisions, even though you don't really know what the future could look like.
So, being one of the top recruits out of high school, you ended up choosing Vanderbilt as your home. Why Vandy?
Well, Vandy was the first official visit I went on out of the 5. I came home and I committed. And I think that it had nothing to do with the facilities. Like, y'all saw the facilities back then. They weren't comparable to other SEC schools. But it had more to do with the way that I clicked with the team that was already there, the culture they were establishing, and Vanderbilt is one of the best academic institutions in the country. And that was really important to me at the time. And so I thought that I found my home there.
And so obviously, like I said, you came from a basketball fan, right? So in general, there wasn't many conversations. There weren't many adjustments. There wasn't many talks that you hadn't been a part of already, and even not, if not personally, secondhandly from watching your sisters grow up. But what adjustments do you feel like, if there were any major adjustments, what major adjustments did you feel like you had to make going from Mississippi high school to the SEC?
Um, I would say I had a coach say that not everything would be fair, but everything is like the way that it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
And so that, like, building on that, it's like maybe you don't start because, I don't know, maybe you don't start because you did something and the coach didn't like it. It's not fair, but at the end of the day, it's how it's supposed to be. And in that situation, you learn about discipline. So there's always something that comes out of it, even if you don't think that it's fair. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn is like the coach is going to do what the coach wants to do, despite how hard you work, or how hard you think you're working, or despite what you do on and off the court, the coach is going to do what the coach thinks is best. And so you kind of have to learn how to adapt to that, move around that, and still have the mindset to work hard and show up and do what you're there to do every day.
Did it ever hit you that you were like literally playing against future pros on a nightly basis in the SEC?
Not until it was over. I I think I was just a little bit in survival mode. Like, we want to win. And so I'm not thinking about, oh, this is Asia Wilson, this is Taya Cooper, this is Diamond DeShields. It's what's the scout? What is the game plan? How are we gonna try to beat them? There were a lot of times when we came in as an underdog, but I didn't want to play like we were the underdog.
Yeah.
Like, you still want to put up a good fight. And so I think not conceding to the fact that these are future pros helps compete, because like you're a future pro too, and you should be able to step on the court and compete with them. But it's been a pleasure like playing against them and watching them grow, and even like watching them play in the pros now and being able to say, hey, like I played against her.
No, for sure.
So yeah, it's good.
And so you finished Vanderbilt with over 1,000 point school, right? And one of the best shooters to ever come out of Vanderbilt in the history. Are there any moments that stick with you the most after playing at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, there's one moment. Well, this happened several times because I was hard headed, but my coach, my freshman and sophomore year was always trying to get me to shoot more and to be ready to shoot. And I was always a little bit more hesitant for whatever reason. Maybe I just didn't feel like I was athletic enough, or I didn't feel like I was going to be able to get the shot off. And so there was one day in practice. This was the last play to end practice on a score, stop, score. And I didn't shoot the ball when I caught it. She stopped practice, made everyone run a suicide because I didn't shoot it, got back on the court, and she started the drill up her. And so, like I said, this happened a couple times, but it taught me to kind of lean into my talent. Like, I can put the ball on the floor, I can get to the basket, but through and through, I'm a shooter. And so when I catch the ball, I need to be ready to shoot. And so that's one thing that I kind of carry over into my professional career as well. It's just being ready at all times.
And so, I mean, you've had some huge games when you were at Vanderbilt against the Dukes, LSU's, Ole Miss. Um, After, going through those games and having those huge performances, is there any favorite game that you remember, even in college?
Favorite game?
Most memorable?
Actually, yes. So I think a lot of people know freshman year, I had a season ending injury. And so I didn't get to compete a lot for SEC play. But my sophomore year, we played all the way through and we made it to SEC tournament. And we made it to the third round of the tournament and we played against Georgia. We went in, nobody thought we were going to win. And we went into double overtime, I think. And we ended up pulling the game out. And that, alongside a game against Kentucky earlier in the season, were like my favorite memories because we're underdog. We went in, played hard, and we shocked people. I had good games. My teammates played really well, and we kind of just built off of each other's momentum.
And so you talk about, your freshman year, you battled an injury. After facing injuries, expectations, pressure, what did your college career teach you about yourself as a person?
You can withstand more than you think you can.
Okay.
And even when you have challenges that try to set you back, the best option is to just keep going and see where things end up. Because the second that you start to get discouraged about something, that sets you back from the progress that you're trying to make. And so I think the biggest lesson is just to keep going and see what happens, like not allowing those struggles or challenges to second guess yourself.
And you played in the SEC, which is arguably, even at that time, was the best conference in the country.
Not arguably.
Excuse me. But being at that level, you're gonna bring in tons of talent. Like, I mean, everybody on your team arguably was that girl.
Yeah.
What separates good players from great players at that level?
I would say the willingness to still get in the gym outside of practice. I could say that we would have like 3-hour practices, and then we would have weights that day, and then we would have study hall, and then we would have class. But it's finding that extra 30 minutes, that extra 45 minutes to just get in and get extra shots, get in and work on your ball handling, get in with the coach and work on something that you saw in film that you weren't doing right. And so, like, that's something that you do in high school. Like, we all get in extra time, but in college, when time is sparse, are you still going to put that extra work in?
And you're after having, an incredible season, incredible career at Vanderbilt, you went and played overseas, right? In a couple of different locations, Germany being one that I do know of. What was that like? Playing overseas, out the country, away from friends, away from family. What was it like?
It was a good experience, actually.
Mhm.
And like I said earlier, that was one of my big goals after graduating college, was to be able to go play overseas, just to experience basketball in a different setting, experience other cultures. And so it's not something that everyone gets to do. And so I'm grateful that I did have the opportunity to do it.
And it's just crazy when you sit back and think about like how long basketball has been a part of your life. Like it's all you know for the most part.
Yeah.
And some people, they have trouble like finding their identities after the ball soft bouncing. What was that transition like for you?
It took a lot of planning, to be honest.
Mhm.
I know that the typical track is to go overseas and play basketball or play in the WNBA, and then you start coaching. I coached a little bit while I was overseas, and I knew, like, this is not for me. Like, I like individual skill work and stuff like that, but in terms of managing an entire team, it wasn't for me. And so I got my master's degree while I was playing in Ireland, and we took a business law class then. And so then I kind of started leaning into what a legal career would look like, and that's how I ended up in law school now. But I hope that after graduating from law school, I can still be part of the basketball world because I miss it. Um, and so that's kind of how I ended up where I am now.
What do you miss most about the game? Because we're talking about something that was your everyday life,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you can get burnt out with the game, from the workouts and the trainings, the games, the traveling. What do you miss about it?
I miss just competing, being on the floor, being active. Like, you're not, I have very little activity sitting behind the desk, typing up memos and doing legal research, but I miss being on the court, just the feeling of having a ball in my hands. And so even when I'm working with students or kids and doing instruction with them, that I'm fulfilled with that because I'm on the court, I'm playing with them, I'm shooting, I have a ball in my hands, and so that's really just what I miss most about it.
So being in what you would consider more sort of real world now, what lessons from basketball have you taken that you apply to your life today?
I will say, so the first year of law school is meant to be the hardest year, like the year where people are crying and upset and really stressed. And so I think one lesson that I was able to take from basketball is just like being able to juggle my time, being able to juggle all the assignments that I have, and realizing like this is not really stressful. Like there are a lot more things that could be more stressful than this.
Yeah.
You don't have someone running at you from the sideline with their finger pointed, yelling in your face because you missed the game-winning shot. It's just a test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that basketball gave me a lot of perspective. And so I've been able to handle law school a little bit better than some of my peers because of it.
So you mentioned also too, this is what we know. You grew up, again, the legacy of basketball was in your family. And that pressure that you faced early on, being the youngest of four girls, it was a lot. How do you feel? Because I oftentimes hear about it now today. You have the debates and the conversations about that gentle coaching, as some people may call it, gentle parenting. Were you ever felt like you dealt with a coach or a situation with your family where they were just too hard on you?
I think that there was a point in time where I embraced it. I do think that as you advance in your career, you have to set boundaries. But being young, I feel like you kind of need something other than gentle coaching because that's the point in your career where you need the truth. And so if somebody is gentle coaching you and coaxing your ego, you're not going to know that your left hand sucks and you need to go work on it. You know what I mean? And so I think that you need to have that coach that's going to tell you how it is so that you can be able to push yourself and know what you need to work on.
And with that, because I've witnessed some too who take that coaching hard a little too far, right? I've witnessed it. I've witnessed parents who are a little too harsh, right? So again, you've been in the game for a long time. For you, delivery matters.
Yeah.
Right? Delivery matters, and boundaries matter because, again, we are still talking about most times children, right? Even in college, you're still a kid. How does that impact a player's mindset, confidence when that coaching does become a little too aggressive or too overwhelming?
I think the foundation of any more aggressive style coaching starts with a relationship. If you have a coach that you don't really have a relationship with and they're coming yelling at you, pointing their finger at you and stuff like that, you're not going to be as receptive. But I think that if you make the effort, or if the coach makes the effort to build that relationship, then they can have a little bit more honesty with you, and then you'll be more receptive to what they have to say. And then there are going to be instances where you don't get that. You don't get that opportunity to build that relationship with the coach. And so you kind of have to cipher through what are they saying that's important, and what are they saying that is going to hurt my ego, hurt my confidence, and kind of sort through that and still take something away from the interaction or the conversation, because you're not always going to have that opportunity to have a gentle coach or have someone who's going to think about their delivery before telling you what you need to do on the court.
And so with that, and I want to ask you because I know I've dealt with it as a coach and even as a player, where I was a vocal coach, right? I am a vocal coach and I was a vocal player. And so there would be moments I remember, just kind of being fussed at about certain things. And I could take being coached hard, but I also was very communicative in, my experiences too. Do you feel like that was you? When it came to being coached hard, do you feel like you expressed yourself in a way where you were able to also communicate to your coaches, to your staff, your trainers on maybe your perspective of what you saw and what you were thinking at that time? And the reason I ask that is because you oftentimes have players who are afraid to communicate, don't know how to communicate. And so they just take what's being given to them. And sometimes that's not a bad thing to know how to express your perspective to your trainers, to your coaches, to your parents. So from your experiences, like, did you ever have that? Did you ever go through that?
I think my freshman year in college is where I started to have more of a voice. And I think what you're talking about a little bit is like being able to set those boundaries and being able to communicate how you need to be coached and what's helpful for you and what's not. And so I remember, I don't know if anybody else has parents like this, but my parents, I would hear it from them before I heard it from the coach, or after I got it from the coach, I would get it from them.
Yeah.
And so I remember we played at LSU my freshman year. The game was absolutely horrible. Like, people were looking from the stands like, what are they doing? And so after the game, I came out and my dad went to say something to me and I said no. I just said no and I kept walking. And that was one of the first times I told my parents, like, I cannot hear that right now. I don't want to hear that right now. And I kind of carried that through my freshman year. And I ended up having a very serious talk with my coach at the end of the year where I kind of told her, like, I don't like some of the things that you do. And I kind of talked about it. And I was like, and then I do like some of the things that you do. And we talked about that. And that's one thing that she says earned me a lot of respect from her. And so I do think that as you grow in the game, you have to be able to communicate that with your coach and even with your parents, because sometimes your parents are the harshest people that you're gonna receive criticism
For
from.
sure. And so, like, I mean, that's definitely great because I think that's something that's a little bit overlooked oftentimes is how important it is to be able to communicate, with the respective people in your life that's helping your journey, and letting them know how you feel, right? Sometimes parents, not sometimes, most times parents are the ones who have your best interests. They've been training you and guiding you and teaching you before you even knew what you were. And, once you do get to that point where you're able to articulate your words and you're able to, define your feelings, it is important. And so, like I say, I mean, I know I have a lot of young ladies now that I mentor, that I coach, and that's what I'm trying to teach them. How to communicate. The stuff that you're telling me right now and the way you're able to tell me, don't be afraid to tell that to your coaches. Obviously do it in a respectful manner, do it at the right time, at the right place. But that's so important, because ultimately these coaches, they want to see you successful, right? At least they should. They should definitely want to be able to pull the best out of you. But sometimes you'll get so caught up in coaching 15 kids at a time. You don't realize your delivery to one kid might not be the right delivery for that kid when you're in the moment, in your rhythm, right? So that is extremely important. But I also want to kind of shift gears real quick too, because we may reference a lot to this person, and I know he played a vital role in your life, and that's your father, who you just recently lost, not too long ago. And I appreciate you for even, being able to share your journey alongside of him. Um, and I mean, he was a great man. Pastor Reed here in our local community has definitely a great legacy, a great name, a great reputation. But, what is it about him that you remember the most, that you admire, that's helped shape you as a woman?
Since we're still like talking about basketball a little bit, I think that there's one particular time that ended up like repeating itself over the course of my high school career. Um, so like when I would have a really bad game, my mom was actually more of a coach than my dad was. And so she was a bit more critical. And so then I would turn to him because I'm waiting to get it from both sides. And he was just saying, you'll figure it out. Like it'll click. And so even as I face challenges now, I still have his voice in the back of my mind, like, you'll figure it out. It'll click at some point. And so it kind of just gives me the confidence to keep going and like face whatever challenges that I'm facing because I'll figure it out.
When you think about your basketball career and your journey, how much of that do you feel like he shares too?
Shares? If it was up to him, it's because of him.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because he used to have a chain that he put all of our state championship rings on, and he would just wear it around with the biggest smile on his face. But a lot of what I was able to do was because he made the investment. He was really hardworking. I think everyone knows that. So he made the investment, and then my mom was there to pick up the slack and take me wherever I needed to go. And so they worked together to make sure that I had access to opportunities that a lot of kids didn't have access to. And so I'm really thankful for that because they didn't know either. Like we were all kind of just doing this thing together for the first time. But if it weren't for him and his investment and then my mom's time as well, I wouldn't have made it to where I made it to.
What is something about your father that you hope people never forget?
Um, I think it's just how much he loved people. And like you see how much he loves us because anytime he went somewhere, he was talking about us to anybody who would listen. But he also loved the community. He loved his church. He loved anybody who would walk up and start a conversation with him. And I hope that that's one thing that people never forget is that like love can build relationships. It can leave a lasting impact on people, especially if they've never experienced those types of interactions or that type of love before. And so I do want people to realize like, yeah, he was a hardworking man and he could get the best out of a lot of people, but he also loved people.
Yeah. If your dad could sit in this chair today, what do you think you would be most proud of?
Um, I think he would be most proud of how we're handling being here without him. We he's not here, but we still have a job to do. He started something and he has passed a lot on to us. And so it's up to us to carry on his legacy. And I think that we would be doing him a disservice if we didn't carry on a lot of the lessons that he taught us and then a lot of the things that he kind of charged us to go forth and do. So I think that's one thing that he would be proud of.
One last thing. If there was one thing you could tell him,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be?
I think that I would just tell him that I miss him because one of the last conversations we had, he was kind of just saying like, you know, if this is the last time we talk or if these are the last moments that we'll get to spend together, I just want y'all to know how much I'm going to miss you. And so that's probably what I would say to him. Like, I miss you too.
Well, we definitely miss him. I know the community misses him again. Great man. Did a great job of raising a beautiful family, successful women, even beyond the game. You know, I mean, you're in law school. You have sisters who are doctors. I mean, we can go on and on about the legacy of the Reed family, right? But another thing I would like to ask too is, you know, once your playing days are long behind you, you know, what is it that you hope people remember about Christa Reed?
I would say that hopefully, I mean, I'm only 2 years out, but I hope to find ways to give back to the community, kind of in the same way that my dad did. And it might look a little bit different because we have different skill sets and different passions. But once I graduate from law school, I'm eager to like figure out ways that I can impact kids, maybe through basketball programs, maybe through like the legal skill set that I have that maybe other people don't have. So I look forward to finding ways to continue to make an impact somehow.
What do you hope that girls in Mississippi can learn from your success and your journey?
I would say not to place a ceiling on yourself. Like, it's okay to know that you're good and you're a little bit better than who you're playing against, but the nation is full of athletes that you might not get to play against, but that are better than you.
All right, so I want to ask you a couple of like rapid fire questions. I think this is probably something that maybe people down here want to know. I know I want to know some of these questions, but they're just real quick questions. Favorite gym you ever played in? Vanderbilt. Ever?
Never. Like, have you seen Vanderbilt's court?
It's very awkward, but yes.
It's the most unique court.
The bench is like on the baseline. Isn't it?
Exactly. You'll never play on another court like that.
True. And it's kind of almost like you have to step up onto the court.
Yeah.
Like some step or something.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess, Ben. It's awkward, but okay, sure. And it might be some people who might be mad at you for this, but I'm asking anyway. Favorite teammate?
I gotta say this on camera?
Yes, you do.
Can I like I'm just gonna stick to my professional years. Oh, can I say 2 people?
Go ahead.
Well, since you gave me an intro, I'll take them out. I'll say 3. I had a Japanese point guard. She was awesome. She's the best point guard I've ever played with. I had a teammate named Hannah. She was a post player, very athletic, very unhinged. I loved her. And then I had a Serbian teammate that was also a post player, and she had a really high IQ.
And I'm sure those are great people.
Yes.
I don't know them.
I know you know.
I know 2 people who you didn't name, but I mean, hey.
Because we're talking about my professional career.
Okay. All right, well, let's back up and let's talk high school years.
High school? Okay. I'm going to name 3 people again because you gave me the leeway the first time. So, obviously, Bretta's one of them.
That's the only name I was one name I wanted to hear.
Terica is one of them.
Okay.
And then I would say Elise. You know Elise.
I know Elise. Okay.
You know Elise.
AAU teammates.
Ooh.
Because y'all had And I know you mentioned him earlier. People probably don't know who he is. Vernell Wesco, which back then SME was his team, South Mississippi League, and y'all were pretty good. You know, he was a
Pretty good.
yeah. Excuse me, okay. Y'all have a doggone good team, right? That was back when, you know, SME had a very strong and powerful name, and he was definitely kind of one of the pioneers from Mississippi who had, you know, was able to put, you know, Mississippi girls on a platform where they were able to get a lot of recognition and a lot of exposure. But if you had to name AAU teammates, you only get two now. You ain't get three.
I only get two.
You only get two AAU teammates.
Well, can I separate it by age group because I played two different age groups? That's a yes. So, Kayla Gordon, obviously that's one of my favorite teammates.
Shout out Kayla Gordon from Meridian.
I named Bretta earlier, so I'm not gonna name Bretta again. And then I played with a girl named Randy. Me and her played at Domino's in New Orleans from the time we were like 10, and then we ended up back on the same team with Coach Wesco. And so we played together for a long time, and I enjoyed playing with her. And then on the older age group, I think a lot of people know Tiara Griffin. She went on to play with Georgia, and I enjoyed playing with her because she was older than me, and I kind of got to see like how to approach AAU and how to approach playing in front of college coaches. And so I did get to watch her. And so that's what I enjoy most about like being able to play with her.
Well, I can say, you know, me and you, we played around the same years, and I oftentimes tell people like I wasn't really invested in girls basketball in my training time. But when the game was different back then too. But I definitely was a fan of Christa Reed, and you know, I interviewed a girl a couple of episodes ago named Savannah Jones, who me and hers graduated the same year. And there were things about her game that I implemented in mine, and even watching you sometimes growing up, like you just had that name, and it came with a reputation, it came with a standard. You carried yourself always with such class and professionalism. You were super mature. And so, you know, as a friend, I am proud of you, Kristen, with the things that you've done, things you've accomplished, the things you're still doing, even after the ball has been bouncing. That's the things that I hope these young ladies do see. That is something that I hope that they pay attention to, is knowing that, you know, how you were able to use this game as a tool, as a resource, to continue to grow, to continue to expand, to continue to make a living, right? And so I appreciate you having you on the show. Appreciate you for coming out. I hope that if there was any game that was inspiring to you on this show, that you take it, you use it, you implement it in your life. Make sure you like, share, subscribe this episode, and thank you for tuning in with Conversations with the Community.